From the outside, the new iPad mini is virtually a carbon copy of the iPad mini 4, but it's sporting some serious upgrades under the hood. As you probably heard, the 5th generation iPad mini is basically an iPad Air 3, just in a much more compact form factor. Indeed, the iPad mini 5 is a powerful tablet that can almost fit in your pocket, but the size or lack thereof can be both a gift and a curse depending on your perspective. Watch our hands-on iPad mini 5 review for the details. Thanks for watching 9 to 5 Mac. Be sure to thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and then enable notification model. The $399 iPad mini 5 gives Apple an iPad that sits just above the entry-level $329 iPad as far as price is concerned. So it's not like Apple decided to produce it merely to cater to the low end of the market. It's the iPad mini's diminutive form factor that makes it such an appealing device. In other words, the small footprint must have moved the sales needle enough for Apple to justify a refresh. If you haven't watched our iPad Air 3 review, I highly recommend. Released at the same time as the new iPad Air 3, the iPad mini 5 shares nearly all the features of its larger sibling. This means that the iPad mini 5 is just as powerful as the iPad Air 3 from a performance perspective. In fact, both tablets share the Apple Pencil support for the very first time. That means that you can use your iPad mini to take notes or explore your artistic side with pressure sensitivity and tilt support in tow. And if you aren't artistically inclined but still need a stylus to take notes, the iPad mini 5 includes support for the Logitech Crayon as well. Logitech's stylus is a more premium 7.9 inches outside of Apple's Smart Keyboard, while the Mini 5 does not. The Mini 5 is essentially an iPad Air 3 that's been just that in a bit. Just like the iPad, but with a laminated display and improved backlight, the Mini 5 features a strong anti-reflective coating with just 1.8% reflectivity. An additional commonality between the iPad Air 3 and the iPad Mini 5 is its support for True Tone, the display technology that automatically adjusts the screen's white balance to match the ambient light in your surrounding environment. Such changes make the iPad Mini experience all the more generation. iPhone 5 also benefits from an addition to the iPad Mini 420p HD. Previous generation iPad mini, anyone coming from that device who felt it was slow is going to be very impressed with the performance of the iPad mini 5. But the iPad mini's biggest asset, its size, also happens to be its biggest problem, the 7.9 inch in illustration Pro, or the monstrosity that is the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Other apps like Safari or Tweetbot will display less on-screen content at once on the iPad mini 5, requiring the user to scroll in order to see what users on larger. The larger bezels on the iPad mini 5 don't do the small screen any favors either. Simply put, the iPad mini 5 looks outdated due to the large bezels, especially the forehead and chin area. The design is more akin to the base $329 iPad than the iPad Air 3 in this regard. The bezels on the 2018 iPad are also large, but its larger display helps to balance out the look a bit. The iPad mini 5 with its tiny 7.9-inch display doesn't have that luxury and sort of feels like it's drowning in bezels. On the flip side of the spectrum, having such a diminutive form factor also has its advantages. The most obvious advantage is that the iPad mini is portable, easily fitting in areas like bags, purses, pockets even, where larger tablets may not. Another area where the mini size works to its advantage is with typing. Daring Fireball's John Gruber astutely noted how easy the iPad mini was to type on while holding it in your hand, and I wholeheartedly agree. It makes the iPad mini's lack of Smart Keyboard support less of a factor than initially imagined. It's been a while since I've regularly used an iPad mini, but after a few minutes of experiencing the 5th gen model, to type in your iPad and the iPad mini 5 look